Now, it's unfortunate that when you begin to share information about certain world leaders, there are a lot of people that tend to become very sensitive about such messages. However, we are not able to sit on messages that God has given out, most especially when it has to do with the lives of innocent people. And in this video, without any hesitation, I'm going to share with you a revelation that was given to a brother in the United States. This has to do with the people of America and their current president, Donald Trump. Now, God has identified certain activities or certain things about Donald Trump which is actually not in line with his expectation and his principles based on what is written in the Bible. I want you to calm down and listen to this brother's revelation. If you are in doubt, the best thing you can do is to pray and seek discernment from God. This is not a time to attack the person that had the revelation. Instead, we rather need to seek confirmation from God about this message. Let us test the spirit and get to know the exact source of this revelation. And I believe that it is going to help us. So if you are based in America, I do not want you to skip any part of this message, because this revelation that has been given clearly gives a description of what exactly that is going on currently in America and what is about to happen if good measures guided by the ways of the Holy Spirit is not taken. There is going to be a great fall. So please pay attention as I share out this revelation with you. And if this is your first time watching a video on this channel, I'd like to welcome you and say a very big thank you. Please make sure to share this message out with your friends and family so that they may also receive the message of the Lord. If you have any revelation, if you have any testimony, or if you have any prophetic word from the Lord you would want to share with the world, please feel free to pick up my email address, record an audio or a video narrating your message and send it in. Once I receive permission from the Lord, I'm going to put your message on the channel. All right. God bless you and thank you very much.
My name is Matthew. I greet everyone on the Great Miracles Avenue platform. What I'm about to share happened to me on the April 12th, 2025, and it has shaken me to my core. I've hesitated to speak about it publicly, fearing ridicule or being labeled as some kind of fanatic. But after weeks of prayer and soul searching, I believe I have a responsibility to share what the Lord revealed to me about our nation and its current leadership. Let me give a little background about myself, which I believe will strike a balance to the things God revealed to me. I'm a 47-year-old construction foreman from Springfield, Missouri. I've lived here my whole life, except for my 4 years of military service right after high school. I'm not anyone special, just a regular American trying to make ends meet, raise my kids right, and do what I can for the kingdom of God. I've been married to my wife, Sarah, for 22 years, and we have 3 children. Just so you know, I've always considered myself a man of faith. Though I'm not one to wear it on my sleeve, I attend Riverside Community Church most Sundays. That day, everything seemed to go wrong. 2 of my best workers called in sick. I was supposed to do a concrete delivery, and it was delayed by 4 hours, leaving my crew standing around. Then the city inspector showed up unexpectedly and flagged some electrical work that would need to be redone, setting us back at least 3 days. By the time I got home, I was in a foul mood. I remember feeling a heaviness that night as I listened to the reports of growing hostility between America and several former allies. Some foreign leader had apparently made disparaging remarks about our country's latest trade policies, and our president had responded with a blistering tweet threatening economic retaliation. The experts were debating whether this would escalate into a larger conflict. By 9:30 p.m., I decided to sit out on the back porch for a while. Now, despite the late hour, our backyard faces east, away from town, and on clear nights the stars are visible despite the city lights. I was sitting there, idly looking at the stars and thinking about the day's troubles. I closed my eyes for a moment, offering up a simple, silent prayer, the kind I've said thousands of times in my life. Lord, give me wisdom to handle all this. Show me the way forward. When I said this, I heard a voice telling me to open my Bible to the book of Daniel chapter 4. And immediately I started to read the passage. I was taken away. That's when it happened. The best way I can describe it is that reality itself seemed to thin, like a veil being gently drawn aside. The space around me seemed to expand, and suddenly I was seeing America, as if from a great height, the entire country spread out below me like a living map. I could see cities, the vast expanses of farmland, mountains, and desert that make up our beautiful country. I then heard a voice. It instantly spoke to me, and without hesitation, I knew it was God's voice speaking to me. I knew it the way I knew my dad's voice, even in the darkness. He revealed to me that what I am about to see is for goodness of the land. He showed me how he has always had a special purpose for America. Not because Americans are better than others, but because he had established this nation as a beacon of freedom and faith, a place where people could worship without persecution and build a society based on godly principles, however imperfectly realized. Then he directed my attention to Washington, D.C., which glowed with a particular brightness. He showed me the White House, and I understood that he was revealing something about our current president, Donald Trump. He told me that he had chosen Trump for a specific purpose in this critical time in history. He had raised him up, despite his flaws, and to challenge systems that had grown corrupt, and to restore foundational values that had been eroding in our nation. He revealed to me that Trump's boldness and unwillingness to bow to political pressure were qualities he had specifically placed in him for this moment in history. But then the vision shifted, and I felt a profound sadness emanating from the Lord's presence. He showed me that something had changed. Trump had begun to stray from the path set before him. While in the vision, I saw President Trump standing at a massive crossroads. Behind him stretched the road he had already traveled, rocky and difficult, but marked with significant victories and accomplishments. Ahead of him lay two diverging paths. One was illuminated with the same golden light I had seen earlier, though it appeared steep and challenging. The other path seemed easier, wider, and was illuminated with a different kind of light, more flashy and appealing to the eye, but somehow artificial. He revealed to me that Trump was being pulled toward this second path by forces that did not have America's true best interests at heart. These were not necessarily evil people in the cartoonish sense. Many were respectable advisors, wealthy supporters, and political allies who genuinely believed they were helping America. But they were guided by worldly wisdom rather than godly wisdom, by pride rather than humility, by a desire for power rather than service. He showed me that Trump was increasingly listening to these voices, drawn by promises of greater acclaim, historical significance, and a legacy of American dominance. I saw him taking tentative steps down this alternate path, seemingly unaware of its ultimate destination. The Lord revealed to me, with great sorrow, that this path would not lead to the restoration America needed, but rather to deeper division, both within our borders and between our nation and the world. While Trump had been called to restore America's strength, this strength was meant to be used in service, not domination, to be a blessing to other nations, not to subjugate them. As the vision continued, I saw ripples spreading outward from Washington, D.C. to other capitals around the world. These weren't ripples of blessing or leadership, but waves of resentment and hostility. Foreign leaders and ordinary citizens alike were turning away from America, not in jealousy of our success as some believed, but in genuine hurt and anger at policies that disregarded their dignity and sovereignty. He showed me how Trump's approach was causing nations that should be our friends to view us with distrust and wariness. Even those who had long been our allies were beginning to see America not as a partner, but as a bully looking out only for its own interests. I received a discernment of how Trump had been chosen to strengthen America, but not at the expense of other nations. He was meant to restore our foundation of faith and our role as a beacon of freedom, but this mission was being corrupted by worldly ambition and nationalistic pride, which placed America's interests above all else, even above the kingdom principles that truly make a nation great in God's eyes. When I woke up from this vision, it finally confirmed why I opened my Bible to the book of Daniel 4, which talked about the mighty ruler, King Nebuchadnezzar. I also read more on King Solomon, who had a very humble and God-fearing beginning, but at some point, because of fame and power, he gave up on God and diverted from God's purposes. In fact, he went chasing after useless gods. The day after I got this vision, I prayed and received this message of hope from the Lord, despite the sobering warnings. He revealed to me that it was not too late for course correction. Trump could still fulfill his divine purpose if he would humble himself, recognize the dangerous path he was taking, and return to the principles of true servant leadership. I'm not claiming any special status as a prophet or visionary. I'm just an ordinary American who was given an extraordinary glimpse into spiritual realities that concern us all. I've struggled with whether to share this more publicly, knowing that many will dismiss it as delusion or political propaganda. But after much prayer, I believe the message wasn't given to me to keep private. What I witnessed wasn't a partisan vision. It wasn't about Republican versus Democrat, conservative versus liberal. It was about America's spiritual purpose and the danger of exchanging that birthright for a mess of worldly power. I believe with all my heart that we must pray for President Trump, not with political agendas, but with genuine concern for his soul and his legacy. We must pray that his heart would be softened, his ears opened to godly counsel, and his eyes fixed once again on the true path of restoration God intended for him and for our nation. And we must pray for America that we would remember our first love, our true purpose, that we would be a nation that uses its strength to lift others up, not to dominate, that we would be known once again for our compassion, our fairness, and our moral leadership, not just our military and economic
And thank you
might.
very much. All right. Thank you very much for listening to our dear brother's revelation to the end. I believe that you heard everything that was stated. And I'm still praying that, I don't know, but I'm still praying to the Lord that this message in some way will be able to reach out to the president of America, Donald Trump. If he doesn't get to receive this message, probably people that are close or around him might hear of it and then share the information out with him. And, based on the revelation, Trump has been chosen by God. But there are certain things that he is doing which is not in line with God. I'm not saying this is coming out from the revelation. So the people of America, most especially the Christians in America, need to pray for the president of America, for him to be able to get back in line with the principles of God. Else whatever that is going to do that has no permission from the Lord is going to be in vain, and it's actually on the long run going to bring out things that will not be favorable to the country of America. We have a couple of, instances like this in the Bible, just like our brother mentioned in his revelation. When we look at King Solomon had a very humble and God-fearing beginning, but at some point he allowed himself to be used by the devil, and he even ended up dying in the circle of other gods. Do you understand? The same thing happened to King Nebuchadnezzar. Sometimes power, fame, and all these things tends to change our direction, which indirectly we might not know that we are actually diverting from the ways of God. So this is why when you read the story of David, sometimes God sends his prophet to go and talk to David, for David to know that whatever that he's doing, he is actually diverting from God's ways. So I'm just praying that God will also reveal this to the prophets that are close to Donald Trump, so that they'll be able to inform him about this. However, if he is blessed to find this message, I'm sure he'll be able to learn something from it. So keep sharing this message out till it reaches the rightful person who is supposed to receive this. And I know God is richly going to bless you. Thank you very much.